Joe Byrne, here he is, ladies and gentlemen. Joseph Byrne, you are the
Thank
founder and CEO of Cognidox.
Mhm.
What do you do for a living?
What do I do for a living? I'm the CEO of Cognidox. I sort of joined about 3 years ago after one of the founders passed away. I am at heart an accountant, CFO for high-tech product development companies. I've been doing this for 20 years. This is my first CEO role. Enjoying it. Quite a small company, but got a really interesting product, and we've got a good following from clients who've been with us for 15 years now and still growing with us.
And the primary vertical in which you trade is semiconductors?
Semiconductors. We started off in the semiconductor industry. The product started in a company in Cambridge so we're in Cambridge in the UK, the university city. So we're actually one of the centres of semiconductors in the UK. So ARM, the new ARM chips, all of that, all the basis for that comes out of this city, along with Bluetooth came out of this city. And we started off as a tool for a semiconductor company based in Cambridge, where they just needed to actually control information flows from engineering through to the end customer. And they couldn't find a solution out there, so they went and developed their own.
Okay.
And it morphed into Cognidox in 2008.
And your first medical device client came in what year? Was that on your watch?
No, it wasn't in my watch. First medical device client, 5-6 years ago. They had basically discovered us. They had their own homegrown QMS, which was basically running on spreadsheets. They wanted to live in it for a few years, so they got it working. They were quite happy with it, and then they thought they had to actually go down the electronic route, and they went and tried to find loads of different solutions. And they came across Cognidox, and they've not looked back since. So that was our first medical device client.
And how many do you have today?
We've got 86 or 90, so either 86 or 95 at the moment.
Is that all or medical device?
That's all. The medical device is sitting about 30, I'm guessing.
Oh, wow. A third of your business is medical device.
Yeah, actually now it's about 90% of new inquiries are coming in from medical devices. If you actually think the semiconductor industry, brilliant industry, huge industry, you'll see my clients in a moment. We've got some of the biggest.
Sure.
Yeah, we've got some of the biggest. How do I share this? So I'm going to share a screen. So this is, I've got a couple of slides, and then I'm actually going to jump into the program and show you what it's all about, really. So an EQMS demo, is this an easier way? This is the background of us. We were basically the in-house tool of the first billion-dollar company in Cambridge, who was a semiconductor company. We are not a full-blown multi-module EQMS system. We are basically a document management system that was developed by engineers to actually develop highly complex products. So silicon chips was really the first one. So we were part of a fabulous semiconductor company. Now, going into my clients, we got adopted by a lot of, if you actually see, my traditional clients are semiconductor high-tech product development. If I go through here, we're relatively small, but I've got some of the most prestigious customers in the world, really. So I've got Qualcomm, I've got Samsung, Synaptics, Huawei, Mentor is a Siemens. We've got Graphical here. This company's valued at $2 billion, signed up at the beginning of last year. They're developing the next generation of artificial intelligent chips. It's a real mind-boggling technology. But as I said, our Coalesce product development was the first guys who found us in medical devices, and they were doing inhalers. So they opened our eyes to medical devices, and really there's the same thing. It's complex product where you need to actually have a very sort of systematic way to develop a product and also control your documentation. And there's a nice fit one over the other. So we're starting to now move a lot more into medical devices, and we like medical devices because there's lots of companies. Semiconductors, they happen to buy each other all the time. So Samsung, Huawei, Qualcomm, they didn't start out as my clients. They bought my clients. So therefore, I seem to get sort of bigger name customers just by the semiconductor industry consolidating. Okay, so what are we about? At the heart, we're a secure place to keep your valuable IP. It's about moving away from uncontrolled information, like the manual version control not working, drives out of control. important stuff stuck in people's heads or on email. Our harder product, enterprise level document management system, we've got the full life cycle covered. And we didn't start out for regulatory compliance. In the semiconductor industry, if you're a fabless semiconductor company, when you actually send your chip design to your Chinese fabrication plant, you're sending a real complex set of documentation. Now, if you make a mistake with the transfer of that documentation to your fabrication plant, it can be a multi-million-dollar mistake. We were designed not to make a mistake. A byproduct is we tick the box for any ISO standard that we come across. We're also 21 CFR Part 11 compliant, GXP data integrity compliant. We've got full validation packs. We run a GAMP5 compliant product development process, and we have lots of other regulatory features built into the product. Then we have a graphical overlay that sits on top of the document management system. Now, what this is, it's a way to actually show your business and process flow your business in a graphical manner. So what you see here is a typical implementation. For a company, from stimulating customer demand to satisfying that customer demand, and every functional element in between. Every button you'll click on the system brings you the latest approved version of a document. Now, we've done our own, we went through a stage 2 audit ourselves during lockdown. We've done it completely on a computer screen, remotely, clicking the buttons, going to the records, going to the SOPs. We were done in 4 hours with nothing else to go through. It makes that client audits or sort of notified body audits a lot easier to do. But where we come from is development. We were designed by engineers to develop really complex products. So we bring in a way to bring in tools to standardize product development structures, requirements, and approvals. And when I go and visit my clients, there's a common thread that runs through them. They will be using Cognidox as a tool to deliver a Prince2 style new product development process. So what they will be doing, they will be designing a product development process where they'll break down the process into functional areas. They will then break that down into phases of development. And then they will go through from each functional area to look at what do I require for this phase of development. Those will become documents in Cognidox, which will be based on templates. And the templates will define how you capture the information per your SOPs. They will also have predefined workflow, who reviews, who approves. We then automate gate control. So you can't go through a design phase until all of the documents in that phase have reached their required state. That gate control will have its own workflow, so it'll be signed off by maybe your development committee or your C-suite. And so you don't only wasteful moving forward until you've actually hit all of the requirements that you've got internally. We never throw anything away, so you've got complete traceability. We've got command line clients, APIs to talk to other programs. And when we talk documents, it's not like a Word document, it's anything you can squeeze into a computer. So PCB layouts, software, CAD drawings, video, or an Excel document if you require. Then we have a number of ways to do collaboration. So we've got product release publishing, which we can do onto extranets or onto internets. So then you can actually track the interaction of the people you're releasing your product data sets and see who's downloaded, who's seen it. And we've got ways where we can bring your partners into the system to work on your data with you, but in a highly secure way. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to jump into the product. I'm going to try and show you what I've been talking about actually in Cognidox. I think slides are great, but seeing is believing. So the bit that's going to take the longest is a bit boring. It's like a typical document workflow, but the workflow will sit at the heart of everything we do. So it's about, if I create a place for a document, and then if it needs review, so I'll be creating a draft, be sending that out for peer review, making changes. Once peer review has been completed, we promote that to an issue, and then we've got an approval workflow. We have a publishing workflow, but I'm not going to take you through that. And then everything else is going to be really quick, hopefully. So quick look at GBMS, got a couple of projects, MPI projects, examples of how they look and how they feel and what they can do, and then how we share information with third parties, etc. So I'll try and not go into too long. Joe, please hold up your hand if I'm just going on too much. Okay, so
don't you worry about that, pal.
Oh, cheers. All right, so we are browser-based, completely SaaS product. Okay, so what I'm going to go into here, I've been logged in already. What you're seeing here in front of you is typical Cognidox implementation. We all have this title bar that goes throughout the whole system. Usually we will have the customer logo will be sitting here. Every page will have its own side action menu. This will change depending on the page that you're on. We will then have, so I'm just going to get this bar. We'll then have search, so simple search, title or number. Then we've got keyword search, where you search within a document for its contents, and then we've got advanced search, where you can slice and dice data in umpteen different ways. We just invested moving all of our online documentation online, so full documentation sets here. Also just going to release the full set of end user training videos, so like little 2-minute, 3-minute videos people can jump in to have a look. Okay, so what we have a portlet-based system. So we have lots of different options for what you view, and this is user definable, or at a corporate level you can standardize a view throughout your organization. We will generally have navigation down one side. Don't forget we're a document management system, and we'll follow a folder structure just like a normal Windows file system. So what we'll have usually down the right hand side is navigation, so different ways, so bookmark categories, different ways to look at your information. Then we'll have some custom portlets, so reporting, analytics, and then you'll have your own personal things to do. So tasks, requests, documents to review, documents to approve. You'll have things like, also, we don't have a full learning management system, but we help with training attestation. So we have things like policy reminders, where your staff need to come in and actually say they read and accepted the latest version of a document, and we can actually do that on a yearly basis or every time a document gets up-revved if you want. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to start on that workflow. So I'm going to use an NDA agreement just because it's a really, really simple agreement and it just follows the same format each time. So I'm going to come into this folder here. Okay, so this is the folder view you'll see in Cognidox. So here are we've got our category or folder category sort of mass actions. And what you can do, we can allow you to actually put your own help text on areas of your system. So your system can become like a self-documenting wiki. So it's basically, it tells you what to do in that area. We then actually have our mass document controls here. So creating documents, copy, move, all of those sort of things. And then we have our document listing. Now for each document, we'll have a unique part reference number. We'll have 2 versions of the document. We'll have the master file, in this case it's a Word document, and then if Microsoft Office can translate that into PDF, we'll automatically upload the PDF as well. And then we'll have the status of document, when it reached that status, and its title, and you can check in, check out documents as well. Now we've got a really, really simple system in Cognidox. If something is black, it's approved. If something is red, it means it's in draft or unapproved. And if you actually come into a draft document, we'll have draft embossed on the document. We'll have superseded, unapproved, obsolete, frozen. We've got lots of these things pre-canned for documentation. Okay, so what I'm going to do first of all, I'm going to go and start a document creation process. So here, naming is as important in Cognidox as it is in your own personal computer, and we give you little tools to help you here. So we can set recommended titles per area of your system. So here, what I'm going to do, I'll put Boston Inc. as a name. And so because I'm using recommended titles, the system is automatically assigning a document type. In Cognidox, you can have as many document types as you require. Now, document types can be used for several things. They can be used for workflow, who approves, who reviews, can be used for security, who can see the current version, who can see work in progress. Are you restricted just to see the latest approved PDF and not be able to actually get into any history? So we can do all of that, or it can just be used for organization. Document then has a category. Now in our system, to avoid duplication, a document can live in up to 100 different places on your system, but it will still be that same document. So common project information can live in different project areas, but it's still that same document throughout. And then from here downwards on our system, this is user definable metadata. So this will change depending on who's using the system and who set it up. But we have useful things like popular things like existing document reference number. This is one we use in our own system. So in Europe, we have to do GDPR reports. So we classify our documents per the GDPR regulations. And people have been playing on this test system. So it's just different ways you can do metadata. It's like drop downs, multiple tags, dates, etc. So I'm going to create a document. Now, what we like to use the analogy. We've created a manila folder. And into that manila folder, every single draft, every single issue, every single comment is going to go in a very structured way and going to be kept forever. So what we can do, we can add a draft, can add an issue, but what we like to use most of all in Cognidox is templates. So here, I select a template. I'm only offered up one template, and it's an NDA template, because I can do a one-to-one relationship between templates and where they're offered up on my system. Now, the template itself is a controlled document, so I'll automatically be offered up the latest version of that controlled document without me having to do anything specific. So this is how Cognidox works. I select the template. It will download it to my temporary area on my system. In this case, it's a Word document, so I'll open it up in Word. So what we have here, open it up in Word, I have our Office add-in that sits at the side. This is an addition. This is a way we can interact directly with Microsoft Office from within Office. So I can save items as draft or as issue. I know the part number already. I know it's at version draft. Also, another thing that's great about using templates, I can embed information in documents to automatically appear. So here, this document already knows its part number, already knows its version, already knows its draft. And what we use Microsoft functionality for this. So we use, what do we use? We quick parts, come to field, and then you come down to doc property, and we have all of these different attributes which can be embedded in any templates that you're using, and then also update with the documents you create from those templates. So author, issuer, even your own user-definable metadata, GDPR classification here, or source template, or if I want to put a title, I can have the title automatically appear with that document. You can take that out because I don't really want that. Okay. All right, so let's fill in the details. We'll make it relatively nice and simple. Boston ink. I'll do. This is why I'm using NDAs, because I don't have to write much stuff. And I'm going to put located at big office. Okay, so I've completed my NDA. Now I could just save it directly to the program from here, but I'm going to do that on the second time around, so bear with me. This time around, I'm going to save it, save it to my temporary area, and I'm going to add a draft version of this document. I'll come to my temporary area, pick that document up. Now we've got a load of options here, which we can turn on, turn off on the admin level. So we allow you to upload your own PDF, because you may be using like CAD drawings, etc., where Office can't make that translation into a PDF. And this allows other users who don't have the licenses to then access that CAD drawing and do reviews on it if you wish. And we allow a document to be a remote URL, i.e., so sometimes it's useful to group websites with your documentation, but we turn this on, turn this off, because at its heart, a URL is not a controlled document. And then we have like version information. This isn't the document version. Like, this is like for firmware revisions. So people are using sort of hardware electronics for this sort of thing. And then we have comments. On our own system, we make this compulsory to complete, but it's up to the end user whether they set the system up that way. So I can put some innocuous comments like that. And then I can set reviewers. But if I come down here, I can see I've already got preset optional reviewers. So as I said, on a document type or on an area of my system, I can set up optional reviewers, compulsory reviewers, optional approvers, compulsory approvers. So I have my optional reviewers here. So I have myself, my colleague Vital. Now, I'm not going to bother my colleague Vital today, so I'm just going to send it over to myself just for the purpose of the demo. And take a look, please. Okay, so number of options. CC all reviews and all answers. Use with care, because if you send this out to 20 people for a review, you can create email avalanches, which wouldn't go down too well. And I want it done today, and then I can send a notification to other people if I require. So I'm going to add that draft. So what's happened now? I've come into the document details here. This is now draft A. We've sent this off to our PDF converter. We'll be back in a couple of minutes with a PDF. And we'll say one review requested, none answered. Oops, I've just had to kind of close down. That was an email coming in.
Question.
Yep.
On behalf of Ginger, she's asking, does a user have to use your templates, or can they make their own?
Oh, templates is completely user definable. It's a Word document. Our template is a Word document, or whatever file you're using. If you're using OpenOffice, you can make a template out of OpenOffice. Excel can be a template, anything really. So we're completely agnostic. We don't have, you don't write your document into our program. You use common tools that everyone uses, basically.
Did you have any
Okay.
more? Did I squarely get your answer, Ginger? Did you want to comment?
No, that answers it. I just, because, yeah, other systems I've used let you either use a predefined template, but then you get the one document that isn't going to fit there. So it's easier to put it into your own template.
We're a tool. We're there to help people because actually, because it could be design tools, it could be whatever you template. We could have hundreds and hundreds, we could have thousands of templates on here if you wish. Anyway, so this says one review requested, none answered. We've got to send it off for PDF conversion. It'll come back in a few moments. I would have been sent an email asking me to review this document, where my email did ping, so I've forgotten to close it. And so I'll put my other hat on. I've now been emailed to say this document needs to be reviewed. And now on my own portal, I will have documents to review. And here's Boston Ink, which is sitting here. Now I'm going to cheat, and I'm not going to review Boston Ink. I'm going to do Dublin. So I've got Dublin Ink here. Now this is in exactly the same state as the document we just looked at, but I have my PDF. And this means I can show you all different ways we can do reviews. So I've got one review requested, one unanswered, and I've come here to review here. So how can I review? I can put some text comment feedback to the person. I can drag and drop a word track file. Here's some additional pictures you need to include or specs you need to include in this document. You can add files to your review. But generally what we use internally, we use our shared notes functionality. So what this allows us to do, it allows us to put annotations on top of, on the PDF of the document. So it should be little, for example. I'll put some spurious feedback up here. So do not like this boo.
Wow, spurious. I haven't heard that word used in a sentence in a long time. This has been good.
Yeah, that's my sort of background there. So this means like you can actually do review on CAD drawings or on technical drawings, which you may not have the programs to because we're doing the review on the PDF. This is completely private to myself, but the minute I select that and share those notes are now embedded in the history of the document forever. If other people had shared those notes, they'll see their shared notes as well. So I close that preview. It says see shared notes. I do updates required. This sends an email back to the person who asked for the review. He can then come back into the document. He can go, oh, one requested, one answered, two shared notes. He can jump into this. Nice big X to say it's been rejected. You can come back and preview. Why did it get rejected? Should be little office. I need to change the address. Do not like this blue. I'm going to ignore that because, hey, this is the corporate template. So therefore, it's a soft process, our review process, about gathering people's opinions. So you always come back to Cognidox as your source of truth. So as the author, I'm going to click the document from Cognidox, open it up as we had previously. I'm going to go and make my one change. So big office now becomes little office. Now this time I'm going to use my office add-in. So here I'm just going to say address as the feedback, and I save that as draft. So all I'm doing now, this is exactly the same as just using the web browser, but I'm just doing it within Office. So now the document has gone up to draft B. And yet again, down here, the document knows it's gone up to draft B, and that's embedded in the document as well. If I had workflow associated with this, it would have kicked it off, but I don't. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to open it in the browser. And I'm going to come in here and I'll go request reviews of the latest version. And here I've got optional reviewers. I've got the previous reviewers. And I'll go previous reviewers, take another look. Okay. Spelling is all over the shop. That's no problem. Okay. I still want it done today. It's important. And I request that review. So you go around the process again. I would have been emailed back saying there's a new version of this document, but let's go into the document details. So it's now at draft B. If I come into the version history, draft A, draft B, we layer documents on top of each other in a very, very structured way. It's none of this like SharePoint auto say, oh, I've got myself a new version. You only get the version when you specifically say it, and they're actually very, very detailed, and you can follow it through very easily. So I've now been asked for a review, and here's my Dublin ink, and I'm just going to answer it and say, looks good. I'm not even going to go into it. So fine by me, and I'm going to accept that draft. So that's going to send an email back to the person who's requested a review. He can now see one review requested, one answered. He can come in there, get some nice big tick. I mean, peer review is now completed. So I could have actually sent this to 20 people and be waiting for that peer review to come back. But one person, peer review in place, I'm now confident to promote the latest version to a draft. So here, all good. Okay, I'm not going to be all good. So Not very useful, but I'll just put that in. So I'm going to promote that draft. So now I get the view, I can approve this issue, I can request approval of this issue if I want. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to, actually, let's go into document details. So document details, that document is now going to issue 1 red, come into the version history, draft A, draft B, issue 1 red, all draft, nothing's approved yet. If I come back to this screen here, I can see approve this issue because I've got the rights. If I don't have the rights, I won't see this. So let's go and request approval, approval. And yet again, I don't have this pre-set up. If it was pre-set up, I'd see the people who had to approve this document. So you could have your QM or your CEO, whoever pre-defined. Please approve. Okay, want it done today. And I can send a message. We can put a message in here. We can send a message to other groups once that approve button has been placed, and we can just do that by setting that up there. And I request approval. So what that's done, it's going to send an email to myself to ask me to approve. Now on my documents to approve, I have Dublin Inc. sitting down there. It's no longer up on my documents to review. I can come in and answer that. I think this looks good. So this is one of the improvements we've just made recently for enhancing our 21 CFR Part 11 compliance and our GXP data integrity compliance. We look very closely at the regulations just to make sure we've got this spot on. So here's my comments. Okay. Now, it's asking me to complete my role. So executive management, I'm putting this in. The meaning of approval, approved. Now here I've got to go and put my login information again. And now I've got to put my password. We also allow this to work with your authenticator as well. So we give people the options. So this is ticking the box of the FDA regulations, and I go and approve. So this is like my e-signature. So now come into that document, and that document's approved. It's gone off for a PDF conversion. Now, I'm going to go into one we created later to show you what the PDF will look like now. So I'll come into the PDF, and this is one I've done with New York Inc. So it's for a 3-page document. We will add an approval manifest to the last page of your document. So this will have all of the information. So on the viewable record, we're including this on the viewable record, not just in the back end of the system. So it's in the back end of the system, but on the viewable record as well. So we have role, we have person, we have time, we have meaning, we have checksum that links back to the document management system. So you've got long-term validation. We then actually give you your approval history. So you can have 10 different versions. It'll have superseded for the old ones and approved for the new ones. Okay, so that is that workflow that sits at the heart of everything we do. So that's the bit that takes a long time in my demo. Hopefully I'm going to fly now and not take up too much of your time. So what have we got here? This is my graphical overlay. Graphical overlay, this is just another way to actually access your information. This is a visual flow of your organization. So from stimulating demand to satisfying demand, all the steps in between. So I've got my department areas across the top. I can launch into human resources. It'll show my human resources process flow. I can link into information, like let's go to the employee manual. Employee manual will automatically bring me up the latest control version of that document. If it went up to issue 5, I would see issue 5 here. We can actually map our quality processes, how we can get the internal audit, external audits, our KPIs, etc. We can use it for onboarding. So this is like a sales funnel, and I've got people. How do I set up a customer? So it's more than the quality management system. It's actually helping you run your business. So, and it's a great way to link different tools. So I wouldn't use Cognidox to book my time off, but I've got a little button here saying book my time off. Click that, and it opens up my HR portal. So if you're using multiple systems, you can use this to bring everything together. Now, what we like about this, now we're about 4th iteration. I was a customer of Cognidox once. I bought it for this, for process control. It's the simplicity of building this stuff. So I've got a little folder here called Graphical BMS. That graphic on the front page just goes to the latest control version of this special Cognidox document. This is a website within a document. This is one of our special types of document. If we supply this, it takes about 5 minutes to set up. It points at this Excel spreadsheet. This Excel spreadsheet tells the system how to navigate. So B1's always my home button, and we build the drop-down menus just by doing that, and it tells it where to go. Really, really simple. And then the pages themselves, it's just a Visio document. So you can use Microsoft Visio. We have a Visio to SVG converter in the back end that takes a Visio file and actually makes it web viewable. And then we use the power of Visio to actually sort of do the hyperlinking, do the mapping in the system. So no coding, no web skills. You just need to, well, you need to know a bit about business process mapping, which is a skill in itself, but nice, useful, easy visual tool. Okay, So what I'm going to do now, that's our BMS. I'm going to look at how we do projects, because this is the key for medical device development, and it's really where we came from. So I've got projects here, and I've got a couple of projects set up. I'm going to show you two slight different ways. I've got this virtual reality headset version 1. So it's broken down by functional areas. But the easiest way let me show you this is just show you a spreadsheet. So here I've got my program plan. Come into my program plan. It's a spreadsheet. Very, very simple. I have functional areas coming down one side. I have phases of development going across the top. I've got hyperlinks to the underlying documentation. Nice little picture of a VR headset. And we had some companies who got into multi-hundred of our clients who have gone into multi-hundred million dollars of turnover by allowing a product manager or a project manager control of this spreadsheet. And when they're happy, all they do is change the color of a cell. Really simple, but actually really, really powerful. We take this a step further. So we bring in gate control. So what I've got here, first time I'm going to show you another type of special document we have in Cognidox called a document holder. This is an XML type document, which is controlled, which holds other controlled documents. So this is my gate control tool. Come into it. So this is my VR PR1 sign-off document. The workflow on this document, I need my C-suite to approve it. My processes tell me I can't go into PR2 until I've completed this document. I can link into the underlying documentation. So here's my Gantt chart, for example. But if I wanted to approve this, I can't. Even in my C-suite, senior people when the company want to approve it, they can't. This can only be approved when all of the constituent parts have actually reached their required state. Now, if I come down here, my budget and forecast is still unapproved. So I can't approve this full document. But if I come down here as a project manager or a program manager, I can jump into here, I can find out who's going to approve it and chase it up that way. So what you end up here is you end up with a very powerful, simple way to track product development from ideation through your phases out to product release. Now, I'm going to show you a different project, and this is based on the way we do our own product development internally. We've taken best practice from clients, but let's start on our BMS, coming back into the BMS, new product development. Okay, so this is my new product development process. I'd say you guys would actually recognize this sort of diagram, a typical V diagram, typical ISO 13485 compliant product development process. From collecting user needs, to developing your product, to verifying, from validating back against those user needs. So how do I get my user needs? I jump into my user needs. The way we do it, we've got our track ticketing system, our Visual Studio system. They will tie into our requirements table. Coming back through here. And then, okay, how do I work my phases? So here is my theoretical product development process. So this is what all my projects should look like. And here are the templates which all of the documentation should be based on. So I've got my market requirements document here. I jump into this. And what it is it's like a blank, empty document, but it's actually setting out the information I need to collate as per my SOPs. And even simpler, I'm going to want to look at sort of the coming in here, even really simpler, I've got a requirements table. So here's a requirements table. And this is a spreadsheet. It's simplicity itself. I could build a spreadsheet in 5-10 minutes. So project name, some dummy information on how to fill it in, requirements, development, verification, validation. Okay, fine. So now coming back here, so what about my records? Design history files. So I can come into my design history files. Let's go and have a look at the version 10 product. And yet again, I've got my control spreadsheet. Gone further down the dev process here. But I want to focus on this requirements table. So let's come into PR1 gate tool. So I'll come into PR1, tell who signed it off. I can actually come in here. My gate tool itself is actually based on a template. And it doesn't matter that these documents have moved on in there. So I've got newer versions exist. The document holder takes a snapshot of a set of documents at a certain point of time. Never change. So here's my project requirements. I can actually delve into my project requirements. And here's this spreadsheet again, but the spreadsheet has taken on a life of its own. So I have all my user requirements, which have been fed in from my track ticketing system. And I've got 3 pages of user requirements that's gone down here. And this would have gone through many different phases until we get to that definitive signed off requirements. And then we would have actually approved it. The correct people would have approved it. So, okay, so now coming further back into my project. Okay, and now I'm back. In my company, we combined the design, verification, and validation phase into one. So now I come to my verification, validation, gate sign off. Let's come in here. So this is my gate sign off tool. more stuff is required based on a template because I'm further down the project. But let's look at that one document again. So project requirements, come into that project requirements, same document, but it's gone further through its life cycle now. So development would have been PR2, PR3 in our company. We combine the both. So verification, we've got 700 automated tests that all need to pass before this is yes. And then validation, we manually go through and go, have we met the user needs? Have we met the user needs? Have we met the user needs? And only once we have, we'll sign off that document. So coming through there, you think, okay, so that's us all the way through the project release, product release. So let's go and see product release now. And I'm going to show you another sort of example of another bit of functionality, extranet functionality, but combined with product release. So I've got examples of extranet use, and I'm going to take you to one of my client sites here because this is all public domain, nothing secret here. And this is an example of a document that's a URL. So I come in here, and this is my client, Xilinx. They purchased, so Xilinx, big US semiconductor company. And what they're using here, they're using the document holders again for product release sets. So what we're seeing here, these 4 documents here at these states is a document holder. So here, this is, let's take these 2 documents. So it's a snapshot. This is a document holder. That's a bit of software. Let's pretend this is a Word document, a manual. So let's say this is version 1 of my product. So version 1 of my product is made up of version 42 of this document, version 33 of that document, snapshot. Okay, bang, done ideation all the way to product release, complete traceability before through. Okay, so now what I want to do, work on version 1.1. Now in Cognidox, you don't have to start again. You continue using the same documentation. So for 1.1, I could get version 50 of this, version 40 of that, add another couple of documents, take another snapshot. That's set in stone for time. So I can do ideation with product release, with product upgrade, through to final obsolescence. And I will keep everything that's ever gone into every single element of those documents, every single draft, etc. Okay, so getting there, I'm nearly finished, don't worry. Okay, so now I want to work on document projects. I want to work on, so let's go back to this VR headset project. And I've got a document here. So this lovely picture of the virtual reality headset. I come into this document. Now I don't work on this. I don't work on this on my own. I work on this with my partner called FastBuild. So we multi-categorize this into the FastBuild partner category. This is about a document that can live in up to 100 places on our system. So if I come in here, I then have my partners area. So Asia partners, FastBuild, Icehouse networks. If I come into FastBuild, basically place where I work with FastBuild employees. If I multi-categorize something into this area, people can access it if they want to from this area. Okay, so now let me log in as my partner and see what they see. So I'm going to actually set up an incognito window here. Just put my URL in there, and I'm going to fill in the details. I always get this wrong. Okay, so now I'm logging in as my partner. So my partner still has their documents to review, documents to approve, but comes to the category, just see their category. Now this could be a real complex category structure, but in that category, they can work as a normal employee, give feedback, add views, issues, etc. But if I come into this original product specification, great, I can't see where else it lives on my system. So it's basically, yeah, it's a really good way to make sure people, I use it with all my subcontractors. If I pay them, they work in my system. I don't want anyone sending me a Dropbox link or an email or anything like that. Okay, and so getting to the end, I'm going to limit to what I'm going to show you today. So we have over in Europe where you're doing CE marking, technical files. So you've got to do technical file submissions. And here I've got a dummy technical file. We love our asterisks and obliques books. So we've got the Druid Getafix. So we've made up a product called Getafix. Here we've got it broken it down into categories. So lots of categories, so subcontract data. I come into Riverside. I've got all my subcontract data here if I want to. But it's complex. How do we get hold of that? So we use our document holders again. So here I've got my technical file. So I can come into my technical file here. And my technical file has 60, 70 documents that make up that statutory submission. So device description, labeling, risk, sterilization, biological safety, clinical evidence, all kept together at the required state they're meant to be, all with their own workflow, all approved, and then held themselves in an approved document, which has gone through its own workflow. If we need to make a change to this, we can create a simple change note, refer to, say, this one needs to be the next version, this needs to be issue 3, issue 5, issue 2. You can create that as a placeholder. You can create that document already, and it will just wait there until those underlying documents have actually hit their required state. So we've got other tools, like we've got CAPA analysis, we can use forms, etc. And we provide full software validation suite as well. So we validate ourselves, and also we provide clients with a validation suite as well. So I think that's roughly where I'm sort of I'm at. So coming back here, where we like to position ourselves is we're not a full-blown EQMS system. We're not multi-modular system where you've got complete learning management, CAPA, all document management. We are basically a document management system designed by engineers for designing some really complex product development. And yeah, we've been at the heart of some fantastic products over the years, and we're finding, I don't know, I speak to people now, and I find what I'm saying seems to resonate, and especially with the medical device world. We've started in the UK. We started rolling out about a couple of years ago, really aggressively to medical device companies. Now, with our improvements on our e-signing for the 21 CFR Part 11 compliance, which I think we've got nailed, we're trying to actually now push into the States where we think we've got a great product as well. But we're always learning from our customers, because our customers sometimes come back, you realize you can do this with your product? Oh, that's really clever. So, Joe, that's me. I'm sort of more than happy to ask any questions. Hope I kept everyone's attention. Have I still got some people on?
Yes, there are in fact more than 0 people on the call right now.
Yeah,
Now,
so
there are no actual questions at the moment, but I have a question. I would, a request really. Would you guys raise your hand if you've followed all this and you're nodding along and you have some thoughts about, I'd like to give him feedback on what did you think of the product, his demo, things that can, I'm going to elevate you, Jorg, to be on the screen. You can ask yourself. I very much want this to be useful for him going forward and for all of you. Mr. Lorscheider, I'm just showing off by saying your name properly. You're on mute.
So that was like, how long does implementation take?
Yes.
Yeah, like with a lot of systems, just getting it customized and working for you is sometimes a bigger process than actually using it.
Yeah.
How is yours?
Well, when I first started, because I came about 3 years now. I came back from a finance background, and I was trying to figure this out myself. How do I get people from showing them, I think I've got a great product, how do I get them going? And what I used to do a demo and then give them access to my demo system. But they'd come in and go, look good when Joe was doing it, but what do I do? So we changed about 2 years ago. We found it highly successful now. What we do, we offered an assisted, if you're on one of our target markets, which means either semiconductor high-tech prod or medical device development or in vitro diagnostics as well, is you're from one of them and there's a willing to try on the other side, we provide a 60-day assisted trial, where what we do, we actually set your own server up for you as if it's the real product. So your logo could be going there. We work with you to set up your category structure, your document types, and your users. And then we provide two-hour admin training sessions. And then, so give you enough to go and work the system. And then we'll give you 60 days to go and try it out. And we've actually found that highly successful of onboarding clients. And generally, a lot of people, most people would then take that trial system, flip it into a live system, bang, you're a customer and you're up and running. It's not complex.
Is there an extra cost for that implementation service, or is it just part of your normal process?
It's just our normal process. We follow a process-based approach all the time. No costs, no extras. Software validation, no extras. I've been seeing the pricing in this industry, and I go, wow, it's like everyone charges for everything. Now we ourselves are not medical device experts. Okay, I picked up a hell of a lot over the years. So generally, where it really flies, if you're working with a consultant who's worked with us before, they can really make this fly. Another way it can really work very well for you. Say if you're working, or you've got your own working QMS, for example. Say you've got something you're using, maybe Dropbox, or you've got it on paper. If you've got all of those processes set out already, it's really easy just to boom, put them in Cognidox. You've got all of that workflow, you've got all of that version control, you've got all of the signatures already there. There's no need to go and get DocuSign sign-offs or anything, because we've got the compliant product in the product already. And yeah, and you can be up and running very quickly. Now, one of the issues I have actually heard from other people when they've had to look at the EQMS solutions, you need to change the way you do things to work in the product. So basically, the product will have a set number of processes you've got to follow. And if your paper-based or Dropbox-based system doesn't follow that, you then have the expense and the time of having to change your own processes to fit in with the program.
Correct. Yeah, that's a nice thing. So you don't have to do that here. You just adapt it to however you want to work.
It's a folder system. If you've got a folder system in Dropbox and you're operating in all of these different areas, you can just map it straight on.
Andreas? You're muted.
Thank you.
Oh, here I am. Yeah, I just had a couple of this, very interesting. So, I mean, I could see where, I mean, are people doing CAPA workflows or NCMR non-conforming material workflows? I could see easily doing that if you have some based version of that anyway in your.
Okay, I can give you one. I'll show you a quick example if you want. Okay, so what I have here in my quality assurance, I've got a corrective preventive action.
We are not seeing your screen now.
Oh, you're not? Are you seeing my screen?
I don't think we are.
I see it.
Oh, then my bad.
I see
Yeah,
it.
okay. Yes, we are. My bad. Please continue.
Okay, we've got a form functionality in here, so I can come in and create a new CAPA form. I know you're not meant to say CAPA anymore, but I'm a bit old school like that.
What are you supposed to say now?
I think it's preventative action or corrective. I don't know. I got told off by one of the medical device consultants saying I wasn't getting my terminology right anymore. But
We still use CAPA, so maybe we're old school.
I hope you told that mate to bugger off.
No, I doffed my cap and went, yeah, I should do that. I haven't quite done it yet. Anyway, so what we do, we've got JSON form captures. You can use, and it gives you your own numbering system as well on top of the basic numbering system. So you can create complaint systems, CAPA systems, whatever system you want. So we use JSON form capture. We combine it with templates. So here's a dummy CAPA we've made up. So we've got sort of the description, self-identified, minor. So description, containment, root cause, corrective action, preventive action, closure. So what we're doing, we're taking JSON form information and combining it with templates. So a bit like mail merge, in effect. Nothing more complex than that. So coming back here, if I want to create a new one of these, I'll go, okay, I want to create a new CAPA. So this will bring up a little form for me here. So I'm going to put bad music in bar. I don't know. Bad music in bar. This is, you just define this yourself. You build these little forms yourself. So non-conformance source was self-identified, seriousness level, major, no, critical, terrible music, something like that. And then I can relate documents. This is hyperlinks through to other controlled documents in Cognidox. And when did I, whoops. So this is completed by myself. I want Alison to deal with the next level. I completed this about today. And here I can actually give a target date for Alison, a week's time to actually do containment. And if I came down here and I pressed add draft, I can then process this with our normal workflow, send this over to Alison to go and do something with. I'm not going to do it because there's enough junk on my system at the moment. Yeah. So what that is, okay, that's not very complicated. So I'm getting version control on a CAPA form. Okay, so and you think, okay, that's all right. But we take this a step further and we combine this with our own reporting. So I have like open CAPA reports sitting over here. So I can click on that, dump this down. And what this will take, it will take a dump of all my spreadsheet information, all my open CAPAs. I just put it on the spreadsheet. Any field that I've identified, it will dump into a spreadsheet, and then I can do whatever analysis I need to from there. Now, look, this is not good enough. Say if you've got a product defect in Taiwan, which needs retraining of your American sales force and your English sales force. So therefore, those 40 different people then need to be linked into your CAPA system, which then needs to link into your learning management system. Your learning management system will then feed back into your CAPA system. You can only close off the CAPA when everyone's done their training. Look, we don't do that. But generally, for 90% of the companies out there, it's good enough. And actually, we use it internally. It actually works really well because basically you already see, and once you finally signed off because you've got the sign off on the document. So you can have your quality manager as the designated signer of this document. Your process is complete and really easy to understand. That's the beauty. It's easy to understand. You know, you're not making rocket science out of this. It's not, let's put loads of medical jargon around the outside. It's about running your business in an efficient manner and actually being able to show who's made a decision when, it's been properly signed off, and etc.
Luke, I know that there's cookie making noises going on behind you, but as a consumer of QMS demos, what did you make of Mr. Byrne's presentation? And did you see anything that made you say, well, shit, I wish I had seen this before I had made a choice? Be honest.
Always honest. I'm brutally honest. Now, it is a great system in itself for document management, but the difficult parts are always like you make documents in this system and you relate them to requirements, and they can be user requirements or system requirements or regulatory requirements, and it's like with Greenlight Guru, you can only relate them to another document. Say this relates to the 60601, but what you actually want is to relate it to a certain clause or a certain sentence in a certain document. And so we referred it to Aligned Elements. That's a Swiss company that does requirements management. And together with, it works great together with Simpler QMS. I don't know if it could work together with Cognidox as well.
Yeah.
But,
we have some of our clients who actually, because I know like Greenlight Guru, you've got that sort of complete risk matrix, and they've actually gone and rebuilt that up on a Confluence tool called Requirements Yogi. So Requirements Yogi can sort of link all of this. And what we say to the clients, like, because usually even from our traditional thing, your end result comes into Cognidox to get measured. Sometimes you go out and use other tools or best of breed where they are. Like I gave that very simple example of how we're matching our own requirements when we come into an MPD and a design history files, and I was coming into that requirements document, but very, very simple. But so this is very, 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 very simple. But you can actually go through and actually create something quite complex here just by using spreadsheets. If you want to go beyond that, then you go for best of breed tools. So like requirements, so one of my clients showed me what they were doing with this Requirements Yogi, and the output of that was coming into Cognidox. But it blew my mind. It was so complex the way they would do requirements flow all the way through specifications, risk, everything. It was all mapped together really beautifully, and then the end result then got joined in together in Cognidox and document management system.
trace up and down as well. Like you have made something in your product, and that relates to both the user requirement as a regulatory requirement, and then you change that little part. So you want to trace it up back to the documents that you have created and to the documents that are in the regulatory.
I will defer. I am not going to start claiming things just because I would say it looked ultra complicated when I seen it, and it did sort of map things all the way through. But I'm not the regulatory expert either. I'm just a provider of tools that help. So, like, I can't say yes, it does that, but I think it does.
Well, I was charmed by evaluating your product a year ago, so I guess it's still better. But it didn't fit our company 100%.
And that's the case. So really, there's horses for courses. I think there's some absolutely fantastic solutions out there, and they all seem to have their different ways of doing things. We do things we're actually unique in the combination of functionality that we offer, and its uniqueness that's actually been driven by the semiconductor market, really. So I don't see a lot of my medical device clients needing my publishing function, but I think you may need that in a few years' time, where you've got traceability through distributors, etc. And I think Greenlight Guru, Master Control, Qualio is another one which I've heard some really good things about.
They miss it as well. They don't have a really good traceability.
Yeah. So,
Joe, let me ask you, as a marketing strategist, I'm curious how you would finish the sentence. If you, or rather, if you're a medical device company, you should use Cognidox versus the other systems on the market if you, what?
if you're transferring from a paper-based system, I think we offer, or a paper, or sort of a manual-based system, whether you're using Google Drive or Dropbox. If you're transferring from something like that, then I think we are one of the very good solutions that you could put through, because one, you're going to a cost base which isn't huge, so $6,500 versus. I think one of my clients said to me the other day, he was chatting to another vendor that he was chatting to, and he got the price, and I won't mention the vendor. He says, "I fell off my stool." So therefore, you will save.
Where for comparable functionality, what is the next least expensive solution? You know,
The way I say it, I'm finding we're about a quarter of the price of people we're up against.
and let me ask, I'm curious again, as a marketing strategist, why you chose to be 25% of everyone else. You could do 60% and he could still fall off his proverbial stool.
Yeah, where we come from, our pricing model, which we've always worked with high-tech product development companies and semiconductor companies, they push back. We do have a step up in pricing to go with medical device. And I think this is the change of industries. When I started to see the pricing that's applicable in this field, I go, wow, I'd really sort of think of, and companies are signing these spend off. And yeah, the regulatory burden is huge, I think. But in my mind, it's not that difficult. You know, people make this stuff sound really difficult. But look, our product's been used to design some of the most complex products in the world in a very simple way. Simplicity wins. You do need people who are working on paper or drive or whatever need to move away from that to an electronic system, because you're creating inconsistencies, inaccuracies. You're bringing risk into your product development process, and which is medical devices is a big no-no. And if you're just trying to save, I'm going to save money, or I want to spend a few $1,000 here, and you think, okay, how much time are you spending on that? How much bucks do you pay for that person to do all that?
I had invited you to present some 3 months ago, and you said, no, I'm actually adding something and I want to wait for that. What was incremental in your presentation today that you were unable to talk about 3 months ago?
It was basically the new signature, the new authentication and approval. So basically bringing in this. We had a Part 11 compliance solution before where we were using PDF.
Oh, this is when we looked at what Jose had to say about a competitor. He talked about when then you need to spend $4,000 on DocuSign. Is this now you've embedded?
This nails regulations. I've actually I've sort of got it in draft. I've got my web guys actually build in a compliance page where we go through every section of FDA 21 CFR Part 11 and say exactly how we are compliant with that.
Let me ask James, you are a fellow medical device software developer. What struck you, and you don't compete directly, of course, what struck you about Joe's presentation, good, bad, and different?
Yeah, I appreciated sharing it because when I saw the title, it was something that I was immediately interested in because we don't use any QMS for our software development, but many of our clients do. So I was really interested to see the ins and outs of it. I would say by way of feedback would be sort of the value proposition from the beginning is, are you going after folks that are not using a quality management system and getting them from that document-based approach into, okay, this is how you can do it, but for cheaper than the other options that are out there? Or is it, you have this existing tool that you're using. If you switch over to us, you can accomplish basically the same things with some added functionality at a lower cost. So I think depending how you're framing it in the presentation, you can sort of lead with, your current state is, you're either doing anything manually and here's why that's annoying, or you're using this other bloated system that is costing you way too much. And here's why here's the problems you might be having with that. And then here's where we fit within that range.
That's my buddy, my marketing buddy, James Carr, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. That was good.
Thanks, James. Like we've had both. Generally, we get a lot of new startups, people who realize they just can't, the new regulations, especially in IVDR, they're actually realizing they need to up their game. So really we're getting a lot of interest from that area. And it's a huge number of companies in that space. We have, look, I'll be honest with you, once you start using one of these systems, it's very hard to get out of them because you've got so much data in there and you've got so much like ways you work, etc. And we're pretty much the same. Generally, that's why I've got 86% recurring revenue, because people don't leave me. Only time I lose clients is if they go bust.
Nice.
And I think it'd be very, very similar for all of the other big vendors. So the one we had recently did transfer from Greenlight Guru. It wasn't a simple decision. They really had to put a lot of work in to do it, to actually change the way they do things. And I would say that's for all QMS vendors as well. Like, they're easy, because most of these solutions will do the job, and will do the job very well, or in different ways. Might be a bit straitjacket or whatever, but it's really just yeah. So get that transfer from another, unless they're using something that's out of the arc, that's no longer getting supported or anything like that. Then
Are you aware of anyone who's left you for a competitive product?
no.
There you go. I think you did a great job today. I appreciate that you share what you built with the medical device family that we have here. And I think you did yourself a nice service. So
Well, thank you very much, Joe. No, thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity to come on board. Anything we can do to actually get the message across, because people will only hear about me if they are part of a group like this, because otherwise, how do you find us? So thanks. And if anyone wants their own demo, just ask. We just
you know, I actually, as you were doing your presentation, I thought to myself that this kind of concept of a public demo could be really valuable. I wonder, maybe if the folks still on the line want to give me feedback, I wonder if it should be a weekly or bi-weekly thing I develop.
I think you might be struggling to find people. There's one other thing I want to add.
I'm sorry, you think I'd be struggling to find people who would be willing to do a public demo?
I don't know. I'd hope you. I'd actually sit there, because I'm forever trying to find out how other people do it. I know how we do it, but
Do demos or do product development, or what are you saying?
no demos. If I was seeing other tools that use
Yeah.
because we're looking for really trying to find a great LMS solution we can partner with.
Maybe
I
that's
haven't
the
seen one
one
yet.
to get a demo of.
Yeah, so it'd be a very good forum for that as well.
Let's talk afterward. Joe, thanks so much. Next
Thank you very
week
much.
here in America, we celebrate Thanksgiving. And I figure that most of my friends will be doped up with tryptophan and sleepy. So I'm going to take next week, and I'm going to talk about some marketing stuff that you might want to hear. So thanks, everyone. Have a great week, and I'll see you soon online. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.